What's good, YouTube? Today I'm back with another video for Medication Madness. If you're brand new to this channel, Medication Madness is a series where I talk about certain medications I've either been on, certain medications that I'm currently on, and they're all from my personal experience. A lot of the information here, if it's not from my personal experience, then it's from research that I've done about the drugs. And when I say research, think of it more of like our literature review, because I'm not really out there conducting studies and doing the research myself. Understanding that, I am a huge proponent for taking medication. Please do not stop taking your medication based off what you see in this video. Please consult your doctor before doing any medication changes. In this video, I'm going to be talking about bipolar disorder comorbidities, or the comorbidities associated with bipolar disorder, and Buspirone or Buspar. Chances are, if you're on Buspar, it means that your anxiety has impeded your life in some way. It's impeding your daily functioning. It's impeding your ability to live regularly. If you're living with anxiety, or if you have anxiety that's not coming from bipolar disorder, as in you have generalized anxiety disorder, you have PTSD, you have OCD, you have panic disorder. Essentially, you have a comorbid disorder along with bipolar disorder, meaning that you have bipolar disorder plus something else, and you were recently prescribed Buspar, or you've been on Buspar, and you want to know more about it, then this video is probably for you. Buspar is an anxiolytic, which means it's specifically used to treat anxiety or anxiety disorders. As an anxiolytic, Buspar works on certain neurotransmitters within the brain to sort of help regulate that anxiety and help you live a better life. But does it work for people with bipolar disorder? As somebody who is living with bipolar disorder with multiple comorbidities, I really hope I'm saying that right. Comorbidities. It's gonna be real awkward if it's not right. Specifically, I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, OCD tendencies, developmental trauma disorder, complex PTSD, ADHD, anorexia nervosa, restrictive type, and body dysmorphia. I'm not sure how many I just named, but I have a lot going on, as many people with bipolar disorder or any of the illnesses I just named do. With all of the disorders I have, you can imagine the difficulty and the complexity it takes to treat all of them at once, considering that you don't want the medications to interact with each other like in a negative way. Instead, you want them to interact with each other on a positive way, to stabilize your mind on all levels. So looking at Buspar and specifically bipolar disorder, Buspar has been known and has been shown in studies to induce mania, cause mania, or at least has been seen, or at least has been shown and it's been seen and studied that it might cause hypomania. So how does it do this, or why does it do this? Again, Buspar is an anxiolytic, which means it's purely used to treat anxiety disorders or severe anxiety. For those who take it, it has the potential to help you think more clearly, helps you relax, helps you worry less, which is an understatement. Like, anxiety is not just about worrying. It's not like Xanax or any other type of benzo where you can take it as needed. It's a medication that you need to take every single day so that it builds up in your system, and you need to take it for about 2 to 3 weeks until you actually start to feel it or start to feel symptom changes. If you don't feel any changes within like a month, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, then like you probably need to go up on the dosage, or like in general you just need to talk to your doctor, because after 4 to 5 weeks it should be working. Regardless though, it needs time to build up in your system. Depending on the person, you take it 2 to 3 times daily. For me, I was prescribed to take it twice. I don't think I've ever taken it more than twice daily. I would take it in the morning, and then I would take it in the afternoon. Most recently, I would take it in the afternoon with my Depakote and my Vraylar. Buspar is believed to increase those elevated feelings, those potential feelings of psychosis, manic moods in people with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, simply because of how it interacts with dopamine and serotonin. Serotonin and dopamine, there's a whole nother hypothesis on this. Increased rates of dopamine and serotonin, or rather dysregulations with those two, are linked to manic episodes or feelings of elevation, feelings of psychosis. Simply put, increases, and when I say increases, I mean abnormal increases of those two neurotransmitters are linked to putting your mood way up there. So if you already have a predisposition to being way up there, and when I say way up there, I hope y'all know I mean like manic, elevated, hypomanic, all that jazz. Already predisposed to being there naturally, then of course taking medication that enhances that does you no good, potentially. That's how it's believed to cause mania. I'm like 75% sure. It gets a lot more complicated than that, as you can tell by my fucking baffling. I've been on Buspar before. This was back maybe a year ago. I've made 2 videos on it so far. The first video was just like, okay, I'm on this medication. And from what I can remember, it worked a little bit. It didn't work significantly. My anxiety was still there, but it helped dampen it, if that makes sense. Overall, it helped dampen that. I don't even know how to fucking explain it. Think about if you've ever given like a public speech, or like you've ever spoken in public. It's that sort of nervousness feeling you get times 100, and you just feel that all over for like no reason. Or sometimes there is a reason, but you can't really pinpoint as to why it's happening, and it's all over. So initially when I started taking it, it kind of dampened that suspension, or dampened that nervousness, to the point where like it wasn't times 100, it was times 50. Prior to taking this, or the reason why I started taking this, was because I thought that Buspar was going to just eliminate my anxiety, sort of how, at least from my experience, my antidepressants, the SSRIs that I used to take before I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, for the most part eliminated my depression. It was a host of other things combined with the SSRIs, like therapy and behavioral changes and blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, if I took an antidepressant after a month or so, like, I was pretty much good. Looking back on it though, it was probably the SSRI just making me manic, but that's a whole nother story. I thought Buspar was just going to get rid of my anxiety completely and I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. Seeing that Buspar dampened my anxiety, we decided to go up a little bit on it. Going up on it though did the opposite effect of what I wanted it to do. Going up did not further dampen my anxiety, it actually increased it significantly, and it was like not a fun time at all. So I stopped it and kicked it to the curb. The second video I made on Buspar talks about how, looking back on the fact, or at least reflecting on my initial experiences with it, I'm almost positive Buspar made me manic in terms of elevating my mood. Maybe not manic, but it definitely created changes with my mood, potentially making me hypomanic, in general, overall making me more elevated. At the time I was on lithium, and I'm pretty sure I was also on Adderall. Adderall and lithium together was a fine combination for me. Even though Adderall is a stimulant, it did not really make me manic, as long as it was combined with lithium and I was groovy. I'm not sure if it was the Adderall plus the Buspar, that those two together was just too much, and the lithium was not strong enough to stabilize both the Adderall and Buspirone. And the fact that Adderall was a stimulant and I was adding an anti-anxiety pill on top of that, it was a little bit weird because stimulants increase anxiety, so it might make sense to get rid of the Adderall first before adding anything else on. But like, I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor. That's what my doctor gave me. I needed the Adderall because Adderall is really the only thing that worked for my ADHD. Regardless though, I had not had a good experience with it. Recently though, now being on Vraylar and being on Depakote and going through significant life stressors, anxiety has become a problem in my life again, so we decided to try Buspar again. For what reason? I don't know. Well, I had anxiety, that's why. I just thought that maybe, and my doctor thought maybe, and like we all just thought maybe. No. We were wrong. That shit did not work. It made us hypomanic again, fucked up my mood, and in terms of progress and stabilization of the mood, we got set back like a good 2 months. And once again, it didn't get rid of my anxiety, it simply dampened it. So like, where are the benefits? It's actually insane. One study I was reading talked about how more than 75% of the people living with bipolar disorder have at least one comorbid disorder with it. And over 50% of the people with bipolar disorder, or those living with bipolar disorder, have more than 2 comorbid disabilities. So that means that there's a shit ton of people who are living with bipolar disorder who also have not just one other disorder, but 2, 3, 4, and so on. Essentially, a lot of people look just like me. Well, how the hell do you treat your bipolar disorder when you have ADHD that's acting up, but the only thing that works for ADHD is a stimulant? Or when you have anxiety, but when you take an anxiety pill, it makes you manic. Like, how the hell do you do that? Psh, I don't know. And unfortunately, from what I've read, neither do researchers, and neither do psychiatrists, and neither do doctors. Essentially, it's all just kind of a guessing game. One of y'all in the comments had pointed out, I think this was last year, I forgot what video it was, but y'all put it in the most beautifully sad, depressing way possible, but like accurate, very, very accurate. Y'all called it medication roulette. Essentially, like, it's a trial and error. So You try one thing, it doesn't work. You try another thing, it doesn't work. And from that, you just keep playing around with the different medications. Specifically, you look at the chemical structure of the medications, what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, and eventually you'll get to like the perfect middle ground, the perfect balance, and you'll find the right flow for you. The shitty thing about that is that sometimes you try a medication and, it doesn't work. Other times you try a medication and it fucks you up. Like, fucks you up. And that's the problem that I've been having, in the sense that, like, I'm not trying to play medication roulette, because the next time I take a medication, like with lithium, they say it's extremely rare. It's not that damn rare, y'all. I only have a few thousand of y'all watching these videos, and even within this population of a few thousand, a lot of y'all say the same damn things. And like, if it was rare, I would think it would be like maybe one or two of y'all, not like hundreds of y'all saying these things. When I was first diagnosed, I was simply given medication. I was never really explained, at least the explanation that was given to me was not explained very well. I just knew that, oh, this will help you feel better. No explanation was given as to how it works on the brain, what it does for my brain, what the side effects are, what the long-term side effects are, what the research says, or like how much research has been done on these drugs. None of that was given to me. Essentially, it was just, here, trust us, we're doctors. Which 100%, yes, you should trust doctors. Like, don't trust me because like I didn't go to school for it. I am the least qualified person to prescribe or to treat anybody. But at the same time, I believe that everybody should be fully aware of what they're taking, should be fully aware and comfortable with what they're taking. Knowledge is power. So the more you know, the more you can protect yourself against things. I'm not against medication, but like, some things are real sketch.